My name is Antonio Izo. I'm over in the Department of Biology. I'm also the faculty technology fellow here at Elon right now. And I'm really excited about this particular topic. We've got a great panel here, and I'll just very quickly give you the name and their affiliations, and then everyone will get a chance to do some speaking. We have Phil Jones from University of Communications. He's the Elon social media manager. Welcome, Phil. Colin Donahue, who's the instructor. That sounds a little bit better, doesn't it? I don't use these at all, I'm sorry. School of Communications and coordinator of student media. Okay, welcome. Dan Wire, who's the director of athletics communications. Welcome, Dan. And Dan won't be alone over there, as he is right now. Scott Wyndham from German Studies will be joining us just a little bit late. He'll be coming in. He had some other things he had to attend to at first. Okay. Well, great. Well, welcome. I appreciate everyone making the time here. I thought I'd just sort of put a couple thoughts out there to sort of help get us going and think about some of the directions that we could go with this. And that's really what this is supposed to be today, sort of everyone putting out some ideas, sharing their experiences, and hopefully stimulating some thought and discussion about this. It sounds like the audience were sort of a wide range of backgrounds and levels of use of the different social media, and collectively we have a lot to bring to the table in this room. I thought I'd sort of put it in the context here, some little simple diagrams. As we think about the changing use of the internet, if we think of the first incarnation of the internet, really a lot of it was based, and we can argue the semantics of this and all that, but really initially a lot of it was information is available and you can access it. And that's a big deal in and of itself, okay, when we think of a lot of the web tools that are out there. And what I'm trying to get across here with this particular, these little pictures here is one person generating the content and many people interacting with that content, taking it in and doing stuff with it. Now I think we're sort of in a new phase of it. People refer to as Web 2.0, and again, there's a lot of different facets to it. But relative today, I think one of the things that's exciting is that now, instead of being so unidirectional, it's really multiple areas of input and multiple areas of interaction with every bit of content that goes out there. So many people are contributing to make documents, to make conversations, to make engaging resources. Many people contributing into it, and many people interacting and feeding off of that as well. Okay. So hopefully that'll be sort of some of the context that you'll see sort of coming out here. I think all the tools that we're talking about sort of fit in well with that. I think there's a lot of advantages to social media, a lot of great things that can come from it in both teaching and in the ways that we build up the community here on campus and promote our things. I wanted to share one experience one of my favorite ones that happened to us in the biology department that really, I think, started selling us on some of the ways of this. I think some of the advantages of social media are sort of listed on here. The immediacy of the information, how quickly you get the news out there, how quickly people see it, respond to it, and interact with it. The community building that you can have from there, and the connectedness that you build as well. And obviously that's the kind of thing that I think that means a lot to everyone here at Elon University as well. Matter of fact, when I interviewed here a number of years ago, that was the word that stuck in my head. And I find it neat that a lot of the tools that we're working with now are really geared towards this as well. Very engaging, trying to become parts of larger conversations, taking the information out of just the regular classroom and getting everyone engaged in it, extending the classroom, if you will. And even meeting the students on their own ground. They're growing up with this. It's certainly much more part of their culture, even though they may not be using it in the ways we hope that they would use it in there. What I wanted to show you is this one little example that I particularly liked here. And like I said, this one kind of sold a lot of us on it. One of the student groups here on campus, the biology student group, one of the students found a big patch of mushrooms. And they posted, the student posted a picture of it. Okay, and this was, I don't have the time marked down there, but it was late in the morning that he posted it. And he thought, hey, this kind of looks like some cool bioluminescent fungi I had read about, okay? Well, not long after he had posted that, a whole series of discussions started happening based around that. So they were tagging professors to try to pull us into the conversations. And you can sort of see the train of it. They're trying to suck us into this in the middle of the day. And And sure enough, we got a conversation going about, well, that might very well be. Here's what you could do. Why don't you go get a box and look at these later on tonight. Before you know it, by the end of the night, there was probably about 10, 15 bio students who were going out there collecting these suckers, bringing them into the dark rooms, and it turned out, indeed, they had found them. And it was a great conversation. And I think where we also realized the impact of there was, when people around the school started chiming in on this as well. I'm running into people on campus, and, oh, how's your day? Oh, good, man, the bio students found this cool fungus, and, oh, yeah, I heard about that. That's awesome. And so the word had gotten around, and I thought that was neat. It really pulled in a much bigger discussion in here than we'd ever really realized was possible. And so we thought this could be something really cool. With that in mind, I'm not going to say any more about the biology experiences until toward the ends here. But what I'd like to do is sort of start working through our panel, and we've all got sort of some different angles to sort of show in here, and hopefully collectively, like I said, we'll have a lot of cool questions and stimulating conversations after. Okay. So at this point, I'll turn it over to Phil. And I feel that he doesn't have to stand up.
I'm going to stand up anyway. You set the tone for it all, and we all do our best to keep up with you. So. And I hope everyone can bear with me. I'm in the midst of being attacked by my allergies as spring has now sprung here at Elon, so please deal with the sniffles and the coughs and all that fun as we go along. But I am the university's social media manager. I work over in university communications, which is over on the wrong side of the tracks, where you go to get your picture taken for the directory next to the intramural fields. And so I am part of the team here at Elon that is responsible for kind of the marketing and PR and the branding of the university. And what you see here, I wanted to share this with you to kind of give you a snapshot of what it is that I do. This is a snapshot of our social media directory, which you can find if you have your computer with you at elon.edu/connect. And so I manage all of those accounts across the top of the row there, our Facebook, our Twitter, Instagram, Vine. We have a Flickr, Google+, YouTube, a blog, Pinterest. We're on LinkedIn. And so my primary responsibility is to manage all of those accounts as part of the university's image. And so not only am I connecting with students, but it's with parents, it's with alumni, it's with prospective students, it's with anybody within our constituency. And I also kind of serve as a consultant for the university's departments, for the university's programs, for anybody looking to kind of use social media to brand their department themselves. I'm a little different from TLT, and that's the great thing about kind of sharing this day with TLT, because TLT is really, obviously, teaching and learning to help you use social media inside the classroom for instructional use, for connecting with students academically. I'm more of telling the story of your department, telling the story of what you do, and connecting with students outside of the classroom, or with anybody who's interested in your material outside of the classroom. And I'm interested in hearing Antonio speak later, because hopefully he's had a good experience in working with me and doing that and getting him off the ground and running. So I want to share a few best practices, not only within the context of social media in general, but social media at Elon as my department sees it, since we're kind of the gatekeeper for the Elon brand. When you are using Twitter, for your department, for your program, or even for yourself, you're not only representing yourself, but you're also representing the university. People see Elon tied to that department, Elon tied to your name, they're going to associate you with the university. And that is great for us because of all the great work you're doing, but it's also important to keep in mind that whatever you say on Twitter or Facebook or wherever is reflected back on the university as well. So that's my one big kind of gatekeeper appeal to you, is keep in mind that it's not only just about you, it's about the larger university as a whole when you're out there using social media. I also just want to appeal to you, especially as a lot of people have learned with this heartbleed bug over the last week or so about the importance of passwords, particularly on Facebook, where your Facebook page for your department or for yourself might be managed by several different people. It's really important for everybody who is managing that Facebook page to have a strong password that's unique from any other password that they use. Because if somebody gets a hold of that password, they can go in there, they can post on the page, depending on how your settings are set up, they can get rid of everybody else who posts on the page, and it just becomes a nightmare. So especially if you're running a page that represents a department or a program, I appeal to you, have a really phenomenal password. Another best practice that I try to preach to people when I'm helping them set up their pages is you don't have to be on every platform. I mean, you can see that the university's brand is spread across a bunch of different platforms. But that's because I have the luxury of having all day to work on social media. I mean, that is my responsibility. For many folks here, representing your department or your program is one of the many other things that you're up to. And it's often very tempting to try to spread yourself across every platform because you hear that people are using it, you hear there's something new, there's something trendy. Resist that temptation, especially if you're one or two people trying to manage your department or your program's social media and you don't have a lot of time to do it. You don't have to be everywhere, but where you are, you have to be good, especially if you want people to stick around, to engage with your content, to see you as an authority on the subject matter that you're talking about. This is by far the number one tip that I will share. And if you take anything away from what I'm speaking on today, please keep this in mind. Keep the social in social media. If you want to have people engage with your content, if you want people to enjoy your content, you have to have a conversation with them. It kind of goes back to that graphic that Antonio showed us at the beginning, that the internet and the web now is just kind of one big loop where we're all involved in the conversation. And if you just throw something up on Twitter, if you throw something up on Facebook, and people respond to it, and you ignore them, you don't acknowledge them, they're going to quit doing it. That conversation, it kind of only goes one way. So not only post things, but take some time to respond, take some time to listen, take some time to absorb what the folks are saying with you, see what they're sharing, and value that feedback because it will help guide you in what's good to post and what isn't. Have some personality in your posts. I know especially if it's just on your laundry list of things to do when you get into work in the morning, it's easy just to throw up a link and throw up a post and be done with it. But have some personality. Take some time to kind of craft it and write it. And I know Colin will be talking to us a little bit about how Twitter helps you become a better writer. But take some time to think about what you're posting and don't sound too robotic, because if it just sounds robotic, you just sound like any other brand that's out there, and people really don't want to waste their times being marketed to or evangelized to per se, but they want to have that conversation with you. And it is so easy in social media these days to get caught up in the numbers. How many followers do I have? How many people liked that post? What's my reach on Facebook? Whatever you do, please don't get caught up in the numbers. The numbers, yes, it's a measurement of success. It's a measurement of how people are processing what you're doing. But really what you need to focus on is the content and the engagement. Focus on what draws people to that conversation. Focus on what people share, and don't necessarily focus on that only 10% of the people who like my Facebook page saw that post, or only 12 people favorited that tweet. Just focus on the fact that they did, and figure out why they favorited that tweet and what you need to do to keep that engagement going. Let's see. Keep it clean, and what I mean by that is not only the obvious, but the structure of the post, how it looks, the presentation. There can be a neatness to it. And one way you can do that is to use a link shortener. The one that I prefer is bit.ly. You can go to either bit.ly, that'll take you to the website, or bit.ly.com. But that'll shorten the link up, especially in a tweet, makes it look a little cleaner. It also allows you to track who has been clicking on your links, where they're clicking from, whether they saw it on Facebook or Twitter. It's a great read on where people are connecting with your content. And don't get carried away with hashtags. Sometimes you look on Instagram or Twitter and you see that 60% of the message is hashtags. It can be annoying, it can be cluttering, and it can be difficult for the user to really make sense of what all that is. So if you use a hashtag, use it with purpose. And the one we use here at the university on most everything is hashtag Elon. And so we use that across all the platforms because they're pretty much all hashtag searchable and enabled now. So feel free to use hashtag Elon on the posts that you're doing, and it'll get in that stream of all the other Elon-related posts. Here's an example of what I mean by keeping it clean, though. And this is an example of a post I was working on, and I'll run over here and point out some specific things. But one thing that you can do, we've got the hashtag Elon up there. We are keeping it social because we tagged Imagining the Internet in that post, so that's going to link us and them, and anybody who sees that post can click on that and go to their page. But what I have highlighted here is that bit.ly link. I used that link to generate this article here that's on this Facebook post, and this is a snapshot of Facebook, by the way. When you post that link into the message and this dialog box pops up, you can actually delete that highlighted part, delete the link, and it's gone. This part stays there, but the message looks a lot cleaner. There's not just some link down at the bottom of the post that kind of is unseemly and unsightly. The other thing that you can do is you can change the photo. If you don't like the photo that's there, you can upload your own. Sometimes they'll give you a choice. I only had one to choose from there, but you can change the picture to make it a little more representative of the message you're trying to share. You can change this headline if you don't like the headline that auto-generates, and you can change all of this here in yellow. You can shorten this, you can clean it up. A lot of times these posts just pull data from a website, and you can see it blends sentences together, there's stuff cut off. So just take some time when you post something to clean it all up. It'll make it look a little more professional, it'll make it look like you know what you're doing, and it just is easier for the user to engage with. And Colin and Dan will also talk a little bit about what they've seen work in their social media, but I wanted to give you a quick snapshot because everybody's been talking about Facebook making all of its changes and reach is getting slimmer and smaller. But on Facebook in particular, video is king right now. This is after Facebook changed its algorithm in January, which is basically what determines what users see in their news feed. If you can upload video to your page, especially if you're uploading it directly to Facebook, you're going to see a lot more reach with that. The plain status update with no video, no picture or anything, that's also doing well, although you can see it's dropping significantly. And photos and links are also doing well. But if you can, my best advice is when you're posting to Facebook, if you have a relevant video, if you have something that you can share with video, video is king. And if not, go with photos and links because, as Dan can testify to, kind of just generic status updates are plunging rapidly in their reach. And the same is kind of true for Twitter as well. If you're running a Twitter account, tweets with pictures in them are something to the magnitude of 6 or 7 times more likely to be viewed, to be shared. It's a large order of magnitude of how much more interaction you're going to get out of a post with a picture or a Vine video attached with it. So think visually as well. And you know, I'm sitting here spouting through all of this, and it's my job to play on social media all the time. Don't be intimidated. I know it's a lot to think about. I see Paige. I work with Paige and everybody over at Physical Plant to try to get them off the ground and running on social media. And it can seem overwhelming if you're not someone who uses it a lot personally, if you're somebody who already has a lot of stuff on your plate and you think now you've got this megaphone to the world, it can be intimidating. Try not to let it overwhelm you because guess what? You're going to fail. You're going to flop. Something's going to go wrong. I have posts all the time that I think are going to just be grand slams, and they're duds. People don't interact with them. So don't be afraid of failure because it's going to happen. Don't be afraid to screw up. Don't be afraid if you have a typo or something to go back and fix it and delete that tweet or delete that post to get it right because stuff's going to happen. We all make mistakes, and especially if it's something that you're not familiar with and you don't use a lot, you're gonna screw up every once in a while. So go ahead and just take that pressure off of yourself because the less scared of it you are, the more willing you'll be to use it. Have some fun with it. I mean, it is social media. It sounds like such a, I don't know, abstract concept. But the main thing is it's there to have fun. It's there for you to tell the story of what your department is doing, what your program is doing, of who the people are in your department and what they're up to. But there's a way to do that that's fun. There's a way to kind of market yourselves that's fun. And if you have any questions, contact me anytime because that's what I'm here for. As I said, I'm kind of that consultant to serve you. And the easiest way to remember my email address is just socialmedia@elon.edu. And I'll throw in one more quick thing because I think that's my last slide. Yep. If you have an existing account that you're running on behalf of an Elon department and we haven't met yet, we'd love to meet with you. And if you are interested in setting up an account on behalf of an Elon department or program, let me know as well because the way that we've done it now, I've been at Elon for about a year. And the way that we've done it since my arrival is we in University Communications like to create those new accounts and then think of it like a car buying experience. We like to create it, we like to get it ready for you, we like to deliver it to you and give you the keys and let you run it and engineer it and do it. And if you need service, come back to us. We're here to help you service it. But the reason we like creating it and setting it up is because sometimes there's turnover, sometimes you're going to get that Powerball ticket and you're not going to come back to work the next day. And if there's somebody who takes off who has the keys to that account or has the keys to that car and there's no way to get it from them, that account can be left dying, dormant, or just in the wrong hands. So we at University Communications just like to be there for the process, for the beginning, to get that account up and running, and that way we can ensure when you hit the lottery that there's an orderly transition and that when you're off in Cabo, you don't have to worry about getting somebody the password to that Twitter account. So feel free to contact me anytime, and I imagine we'll have time for some questions at some point too. And by the way, thanks to Sarah and Antonio for putting all this together too.
All right, again, I'm Colin Donahue. I work in the School of Communications, coordinator, student media, and an instructor. And so I'm going to talk to you about a couple of ways I use Twitter. So I use Twitter to manage a couple of different accounts, my own, the School of Communications, and then I have a hand in about 4 others that I don't manage directly, but I help out with here and there, like our media program, our North Carolina Open Government Coalition, a couple other ones. So Elon.com is the one we might just be able to use the arrows. Yeah. Elon.com, primarily what we use this one for is to push out news and information about faculty, staff, students, alumni, anything like that. That's primarily what we use it for. We use Facebook a little bit, but we only use that for what we deem the bigger news items. We push everything to Twitter, but only select things through Facebook, and that's kind of intentional. So in the last year, if we could move forward more, sorry. In the last year, to sort of dovetail off what Philip had been talking about, what I attempted to do was take on a more conversational and approachable tone when it was appropriate through the Elon.com Twitter page in order to establish more engagement and more connections with the folks who are following us. But also, as Philip mentioned, this is not my primary responsibility. So I don't have a whole lot of time to sit there and go through our feed. I do check on the people who are interacting with us, so who's talking to us, who's asking us questions, and I make a point to respond to them. So last Sunday, we had a few students, faculty, a speaker we brought to campus, and one of our ESTV TV shows tweeting at Elon.com. So I spent some time that evening making sure that we responded to them because we want to keep those conversations going. Excuse me. But we are trying to keep it a little more conversational. I remember last summer we got new carpet in our stairwells, and I thought, well, this is an opportunity. So I took some photos of the new carpet, hashtagged a new carpet smell, breaking news, tried to make it a little more interesting so students would be potentially engaged in that. Didn't work out particularly well. A couple of students favorited the tweets, which was nice, but it didn't have that great of a reach. But it was okay. We were trying something a little bit different. I also took a proactive role last May on National Teacher Appreciation Day. I tweeted out this question to our followers. I said, today is National Teacher Appreciation Day. Who's your favorite Elon.com professor? Tweet us and we'll retweet. And that had some moderate success, actually. So we had a lot of alumni in particular tweeting at us, telling us who their favorite Elon.com professor was and why. I curated all those, put them in a Storify that I could tweet out later so people could see the list of responses. Also, if they mentioned a specific faculty member of ours who was on Twitter, I made sure when we retweeted, I retweeted it with that faculty member's Twitter handle in there so that that person could see, and that might create another level of engagement and conversation as well. So those are the kinds of things that we're trying to figure out how to do more of with this page in particular. A couple things I had thought of. If I had been here Friday when our professional advisory board was here, we had student sessions with the advisory board. We could have asked them to tweet interesting tips and things they learned from the advisory board to us that we could have then retweeted out to our general audience. We could use Elon.com as a resource for higher education news or news about schools of journalism and communication in general. So we're investigating new ways to do that. It's just a matter of figuring out who could help with that and how we could fit that in. Okay, so I do a little more with my personal Twitter account. So any of you who may follow me, and a couple of you do, know that my Twitter account's just a bit of a grab bag. So it focuses on student media news and journalism stuff, but also sports, particularly Washington Capitals stuff, which I apologize for.
Not much to talk about now.
That's true. So yeah, so you all have a reprieve now. But I don't segment my account. I know a lot of students have this idea that they need to segment their account between personal and professional. which I think sometimes throws up a red flag to potential employers if they go search for you and they find a Twitter account that's locked and one that isn't. You go start wondering, I wonder why this one's locked. So I always encourage them, keep one, because you are who you are, and so present yourself in that way through Twitter. But what I do with class, we can move to the next one, is I actually ask my students to use Twitter. I require my students to use Twitter for class. And so we use this COM450 hashtag. I teach a course called Multimedia Journalism. And so what we do in class is every week we discuss some topic relevant to what we're doing, and then they have to tweet links or resources once a day, Monday to Friday, to something we're talking about. So if we're discussing database journalism, then they have to tweet a link to a great database journalism project every day, careers, and tweet a career tip every day. One of the more fun assignments that we have them do is when we're talking about HTML and CSS, we pull up ENET. Phil knows about this. We pull up ENET in browsers, we go to the developer tools, and we allow them to make changes to the ENET page. Visual changes you can see on your screen, but they don't actually take hold. So I have them do that to learn where to find stuff within the HTML and CSS. So they learn how to do it. They get to make fun changes. I don't care what they do. They can change photos, headlines, backgrounds. It doesn't matter as long as they're interacting with it. Then I tell them to screen grab it. And then I say, go ahead and tweet that at Eric Townsend and Philip Jones and tell them ENET's changed, and then see if they'll freak out about it. So it worked on Philip. So Philip responded to a bunch of them this year. So that's one of the things that we do with Twitter, just to have a little more fun with it. Yeah, I know, we did it with him last year. The tweeting actually does a couple of things. The students compile a lot of information, and I curate a lot of that. So if they're tweeting SEO tips one week, I'll put all that together in a Storify and have it. And then I can use that as additional resources for me and stuff that I do in class. But the happy byproduct is that the students are essentially teaching future students in a way. We're sort of crowdsourcing these different points of discussion in class, and I can provide these resources to students again in the future. And that helps out quite a bit. And then what I try to talk to students about is that Twitter's interesting because it can do a few things for you. And this first one sounds counterintuitive, but it can make you a better writer. It's true. It forces you to write more succinctly. You learn the economy of words because you have a 140 character count. This is particularly important, I think, for journalism students, especially as they're learning how to write headlines. So it's a useful tool in that way. But I think that's one of the really great benefits to it. The second one is that you're able to capture some reaction. So this is about engagement. Philip talked a little bit about this, but I did a presentation about why student media is important to a college campus at University of Alabama, Birmingham on Friday, which is why I wasn't around for advisory board stuff. Before I went, I did some research, but what I really wanted to do was find out why other people thought that this was important. So I sent out a tweet, and I put something on Facebook, and I asked people, so why are college media groups important to a college campus? On Twitter alone, it generated about 25 responses. I was able to put all those together, and it gave me really great feedback and ideas as to why people think it's important. Led me in new directions, stuff I hadn't thought of before. So that engagement and that reaction component, I think, is quite important. And then it also allows you to find a personal voice. And so I do think it's important that your personality shines through on Twitter. It's okay to be funny. It's okay to be sarcastic. You can have fun with people. We talked about meeting students where they are. I use it a lot to interact with students, both for class reasons and for non-class reasons. So one of my more recent experiences with a student was when we were doing infographics. The assignment for that week was to tweet once a day a link to one great infographic, and the word great was in there. So I had one student, one of my sassier journalism students, and that's how I judge whether journalism students are any good, is their level of sass. So if it's high, I think that's always a good thing. And he tweeted at me, he said to me, what about, quote, good infographics? So he's being sort of a wise guy, which was fine. And I replied to him, Joe, from you, I'd be happy with average. Okay? So that was a nice thing. He knows me. It's okay. He knows me, and he knows it's a joke because I've spent 4 years with him. But I have those sort of interactions with students sometimes. And I think that allows me to get to know them a little bit better. They get to know me a little bit better. It sort of opens up the classroom, especially a senior classroom that's more of a lab, newsroom kind of environment. It opens that up for better discussions, richer discussions, and a little bit more looseness and fun. And then the last thing that I'll mention, as I'm thinking about Twitter, and this may apply to some of what you're doing, is I'm looking at this through the lens of journalism and our journalism students, but I think it's applicable on a grander scale. I'm going to think about changing how students in class use Twitter. So right now they tweet specific to what we're working on per week. But what I may do is ask them to find a niche area, something they're really interested in. And then ask them to tweet about that and do some blogging about that throughout the course of the semester, because we're teaching people now, especially young journalists, that as they leave college, we can actually encourage them to go out and start their own media company, essentially. Find a niche reporting area, go out, report on it deeply, report on it thoroughly. Okay, become an expert in that area. That's something that we all can do on Twitter, and so that may be one way that I change how we use it. But this is basically how I use it for class and myself and our school.
Well, I guess sort of to just echo what these guys have said, like I know we might seem a little different because we're not in the classroom over in athletics, but you know, a lot of what we do on our social media, our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter is just you know, drive conversation with engaging content and keeping people engaged with photos, video, links to our website and other useful things to you know, promote not only student athlete achievement, but you know, get people to come to games, get people to join the Phoenix Club, things like that. So. I mean, it'll say it on here, but we started our page in August of 2009, and we originally set it up as a profile page for our mascot. Well, we quickly found out that those pages were randomly being deleted by Facebook because you have to be an actual person to have a profile page. The school I previously worked at found that out the hard way when we came to work one day, and their mascot page, which had several thousand followers, was just completely gone one day when they showed up to work. So we quickly at Elon switched everything over to a fan page and just kind of hit the ground running, I guess. So sort of like I said, our first ever Facebook post when we switched over to the fan page was actually video from our press conference from when our football team beat Davidson. Yes, Davidson has a football team. 56-0, and more or less, I mean, it was just a way for us to have video live somewhere else than on our website and get people to see it. So, I mean, quite honestly, when we first started this, we really just wanted to keep posting photos, video, and really everything we could on there, and didn't really kind of know what we were doing at first. But I feel like, you know, now over the last several years that, you know, athletic departments and other brands and companies have started Facebook fan pages, we sort of kind of follow their lead, and you know, we're in a pretty good spot now. As you can see, you know, the end of 2010. I know we're not focusing on numbers, but I'll show it anyway. We had about 2,000 fans towards the end of 2010, and as you can see now, we actually just got over 5,000, which was a cool benchmark for us. And you know, I was talking to Phil and Antonio before this. We've seen a dip in our Facebook likes, and I think that's just because sort of what Phil touched on, the overall, the algorithms and everything else that have changed with Facebook. It's harder for people to, I guess, see your page now and like your page and see your posts. So we actually have more Twitter followers now than we have Facebook fans, which if you told me that 3 years ago, I didn't think that was gonna be possible. But it's happened, and that said, we're still, you know, our main focus is posting engaging content, video, photo, useful links. We don't post every link. We have 17 teams, so we don't post every game story or preview on our Facebook page. We post the ones that we think are going to have movement. This past week, for example, the WFMY came out. We had a really good story on one of our baseball players who was diagnosed with cancer, and FMY came out and did a great piece on it. We posted that the night they ran the piece on TV, and I think that alone had you know, 50 shares and just an overall reach of like 20,000. So 20,000 people saw that, which was really cool for us to see. And, you know, I know our baseball team was real excited about that. So, so who likes us? Well, we actually have an equal number of men and women who like our page, which compared to Facebook, the overall percentages are a little different. There's actually more men on Facebook than women, so it's kind of cool. We have a 50-50 split. So, and I think a lot of that can be attributed to the fact that a lot of our Facebook fans are also alumni, and more women attend Elon than men. So, I mean, you can probably draw that parallel somewhere. And about 36% of our fans reside in the Elon, Piedmont Triangle areas. So, you know, still, you know, a lot of people around here, and like I said before, we're trying to, you know, get people to come to games, so that it's important for us to reach those people that are still around here and, you know, get them to come to games and join the Phoenix Club and make them able to see our student athletes' achievements and accomplishments. So And our largest sector in terms of age group is 18 to 24. So obviously that younger sort of group, those are the people that are locked into our page. So how do we, I sort of touched on a lot of this, but how do we reach and engage our fans? Well, sort of what Phil said, video is king now. Videos, especially ones that are uploaded directly to Facebook, it just, for whatever reason, it's more aesthetically pleasing, I think. And people just tend to share it a lot more and comment and like it a lot more. So every single one of our posts that we have, we try to make sure it's either a video or a photo. We don't post just status updates. You know, so I mean, as we've sort of seen posts with photos garner a higher reach and engagements. We do sort of mini infographics now after basketball games and baseball and a few of our other sports do that. So, you know, after a big win, we'll do an infographic, and people love to sort of share that, to share with their friends and family that, hey, we beat Davidson tonight. So, sort of a cool thing we're starting to do. And sort of like I said, you know, I think when we first started, we would post status updates like, just random ones like, oh, huge win for baseball tonight with just nothing on it, and no one saw it. So, you know, we try to at least include, at the very least, a link to the story if we're not able to get a photo and everything right away. But, I mean, quite honestly now, with iPhones, it's so easy to capture a moment right then and there. So there's really no excuse not to have some sort of engaging content with your Facebook posts. So what's worked for us? Well, these are our top 5 posts from this past year, and you know, I think the common theme here, you know, if we can get Jack Eisenbarger to just stay here another year, that'll be huge for us. But unfortunately, that's not going to happen. So I'll show you. I don't know if I don't have to go through all of these, but at least the first one. So we were doing an interview. This sort of happened very organically and randomly, but we were doing an interview with Elon Local News after basketball practice one day, and Jack still happened to be just hanging out in the gym, and while they were setting up the cameras and everything, decided, all right, I'm just going to shoot a half-court shot, granny style, underhand. So thankfully, Elon had the cameras rolling for all of this, and Jack just absolutely buries the half-court shot, and like we're all like, oh my God, like, where's that rolling? So we posted that the next morning on Facebook, and I think over like 45,000 people saw that, and everyone and their mom shared it. It was really cool to see. So obviously, I mean, when you look at the top 5 things that we've had, all of it was, I mean, the Jack's half-court granny shot was a video that we uploaded directly to Facebook. His game winner against Georgia Southern, I don't know how many of you guys saw that, but you know, that's something we uploaded that night to Facebook, and that actually made it over to Fox Sports 1 for their top 5 countdown that they have. And then, you know, our men's soccer just won its third straight conference championship this year, so immediately after they took their team picture, they're all holding up the 3 for three-peat. We got that photo out quickly, so here we go. And I kid you not, that was the first try, and that was the only try. So these guys were, you could tell by their reaction, they were sort of, oh my God.
I would assume that was rigged.
Yeah, it wasn't. No, that actually happened. It's funny, like, I've seen Jack do that 100 times. Like, he does that after every practice when we're on the road, so it's nothing new. But yeah, I mean, sort of as you can see on here, we, photos and videos. And actually, we started doing this cool thing every month with our IMG people. It's called the Fire Salon Fan of the Month. So what we do is we get a lot of tweets during basketball and football games with people saying, hey, we want to be the fan of the game. So they'll tweet us their picture. And at the end of every month, we sort of compile those and pick the 2 best ones and pit them against each other on Facebook. So if you want Jimmy to win, you have to like this photo, and if you want Susie to win, you have to share the photo, and whoever has the most likes and shares by the end of the week wins a $50 gift card to Fire Salon. So that actually has, those posts garner really high reach and really high engagement because everyone ends up tagging themselves on there, and it goes on their page and their friend's page. So That's something it's been really cool for us because it, you know, promotes our fans and everything. But it's been great for obviously IMG and for Fire Salon too. So. Then obviously Aaron Millette, one of our former football players, he scored a preseason touchdown this last year, and immediately after we were able to get the screen grab of him catching the ball in the end zone, and that garnered a very high number of likes and comments and shares and all that. So that was really cool to see. So yeah, I mean, as you can kind of see by this, everything that has worked for us has been video, photo, and links to really good stories that we've had happen with our teams and student athletes. So that's pretty much all I have. Yeah, I have a little pitch here. Like us and follow us on Instagram and Twitter as well. So that's about it. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Scott Wyndham. I teach German, and everything I'm about to show you is actually the creation and brainchild of my colleague David Neville, but he's in class right now, so I know how it works, and I helped him build, but it was all his idea. And Antonio, if you can just go to, okay, you did it. Way to go. So we have a YouTube channel that serves two functions. One is educational, and the other one is promotional, or if you want to use sort of raw capitalist terms, it's marketing. And actually the marketing function came first, but it wasn't succeeding on its own. So in other words, we have a series of playlists on our YouTube channel that promote or market various segments of our German program. We have some alumni and current students talking about what they have been able to achieve with German. We have, lower down, you can scroll if you wish, there are videos from our Business German Speaker Series. And then we have, that third playlist has to do with, these are videos from the companies that come to our speaker series, like Volkswagen and DHL. And then, so we had all these videos, these nice videos, very well produced. TLT helped us produce some of these videos, and we had these very well produced, attractive videos online on our YouTube channel, and they weren't drawing any traffic. So what we did was we went in to draw traffic to the site. We created a series of German grammar videos and just put them out there as an open educational resource, and that has been the driver. So once we did that, within a number of months, we began to develop lots of followers on YouTube. They're not called followers, they're called subscribers, yeah. Okay, so, and earlier, back in the fall, so I guess we put the grammar videos online starting last spring. And within 6 months, our YouTube channel had more subscribers than the university's YouTube channel. I'm just saying. Which, does it tell you how many, if you go all the way to the top, does it tell you how many we have?
It's like 2,400.
Yeah. And so, all right, let's get the big number. There we go. I'm going to stand up because I can't see it.
28.
2,847, and that up from 0, right? Pretty much, or up from, let's say, 3 dozen 1 year ago. And it all happened because we put the educational resource online. Now what's happening though is that since people come to the site to see the grammar videos, and what do? They just do a Google search or a YouTube search for, I don't know, the accusative case in German, which I know all of you search for those things in your spare time. But students, people who are learning German around the world are looking for good open educational resources, and we have provided those. And what's happening is once they get to the site and watch that video on the accusative case or an irregular verb conjugation or other fascinating topics, they are also noticing, since we have a channel, they are noticing these other videos. So many of them are also viewing what I would call the marketing or the promotional videos. So they're learning about our German program. They're learning about our Business German Speaker Series. They're learning about the companies that come to campus for the speaker series. They're hearing the voices of these alumni and current students who have done good things with their German. So it's been, the YouTube channel has been a nice way for us to sort of wed two functions, right? The promotional function and the educational function. And we use the site for both purposes now. So, for example, my third semester and fourth semester German students, we no longer do grammar lectures in class, which is, really not good pedagogy to begin with, but rather those grammar lectures are there, and they watch them outside of class. And then we do problem solving in class based on what they saw in the video. So really, my presentation is sort of short and sweet. That has been the most successful aspect of our social media outreach. We also have Facebook and Twitter. Twitter is not succeeding. We have only 24 followers. We launched the Twitter site, I guess it was in January, so maybe I'm too excited for success to happen too quickly. And Facebook also was launched back in January, and so far it has maybe 5 or 6 dozen likes, page followers. So those two, Facebook and Twitter, have not matched the tremendous success of the YouTube page. Perhaps I'm just being too greedy, but nonetheless, this particular blend of education and promotion has proved successful.
Okay, to sort of finish up, I just wanted, and then we'll open it up for questions. I wanted to share with you a little bit about what the biology department's been doing on there. And it's kind of taken little bits and pieces from all the little things that, all the things that we've been hearing throughout here as well. And in doing this, I have to also right up front thank Phil, who helped us get going on an awful lot of this stuff, and his guidance throughout this. He really is a fantastic resource to help you get rolling and understands where those things go. And also Elon Technology for making the time available, quite honestly, to develop a lot of this stuff. It's not it's another little time, I don't want to say time suck, but another place where time consumption factor right there. A couple things I wanted you to think about in this, and this is sort of how we've tried to approach it in here. In developing our social media presence is thinking about who the audience is. And in our case, we wanted current students to be connected and involved with all the things we're doing. We want them to know what their department is doing. We want prospective students to know what kinds of things are going on in this department as well. And not just the students, of course, but in conjunction with them is their parents. We want the rest of the university to sort of be interconnected with that as well. I love seeing what all other departments are doing, and that gives me a lot of great ideas as well as we're going through this. Alumni are probably the ones who are chiming in the most on all the stuff that we do. And then also our peers at other institutions, and we do have a lot of people interconnecting that way. And one of the things I always think about with this too is, and again, you've heard everyone sort of touch on this, and like, what kind of a picture do you want to paint in this? And you really control a lot, and that's one of the powers of, I think, a lot of the social media that draws a lot of folks with it. Very much like the selfie. You get to now control how everyone views you. And there's some advantages to that. And, the kinds of things that we're looking for, we want to show them that we're dynamic, we're engaged, the students are doing all these cool things. We're doing this research, you should know about it. And, if you come here as a student, you're going to be interconnected with all this stuff. So all these kinds of themes run through all the kinds of things we decide to post, and whether it be just regular information, news, or videos or pictures. Our approach has been sort of multi-pronged, and I think everyone's, the general words of advice here hold true, to not dilute yourself too quickly on that, and I think we've gone about as far as we can go right now without getting too overbogged by everything. Let me just show you a couple real things real quick that I wanted to share with you. We've invested time in setting up a Facebook page. We're also doing stuff with Twitter, and that in itself is not anything different from, I think, the kind of things that you've been hearing about here. I think we've noticed as well that a lot of the stuff that gets people's attention are indeed the more, certainly having images on there are absolutely sticking out there. But I've also noticed, too, certain kinds of images in particular really sort of resonate, for example, with the students. Showing a picture of their friends doing something in one of the classes. We had some stuff going on the other day. One of the classes doing an experiment on sea urchin eggs that happens every time. Well, the students were all over that one, checking that one out. Their friends are in there doing this cool stuff. A picture of the faculty at College Coffee. That one went all over the place with a lot of alumni and all, and they loved that. And they were chiming in, Dr. Vick, oh, I miss Dr. Vick. And that really, the pictures of the professors really sort of stuck out with them as well. So the kinds of things that you choose, it's fascinating to me to watch the kinds of responses, and I think you have to sort of check and see what kind of things are getting people's attention in there. Two things I wanted to show you here. This one is sort of my one of my favorite projects that we've been working on here as well. I sort of like pulling all these media types together into one big thing. Since I've had a mobile device, I've been really into this application, Flipboard. And what this really does is it allows you to collate all these different feeds and put them into this beautiful, attractive, magazine-looking format. And that's what we have here. Now, I apologize. You can access it through the web, but it's not really designed to go through the web. But let me show you here. And this is literally just posts that were taken from our Facebook and our Twitter feeds as well. And we'll flip through a couple pages here, and you can see some of the different notes. And if you click on it, you can get some of the information about their students doing some of the, one of Mike Kingston's collection classes out in the field. There's some folks doing the sea urchin egg one. Micro the other day, we had glowing bacteria, and that's always a very popular one. Remember students chiming in. Students presenting at conferences have been really getting folks excited, the alumni as well. Folks all over the place, and then on some of the regular feeds as well. Anyways, it's a beautiful, attractive format, easy to sort of pull all of this together, and I think and you can incorporate into here too YouTube channels and videos as well. So it's a one-stop shop for people who have access to that. Now, you can do it through a computer, but it looks a heck of a lot prettier on the tablets. The other thing I wanted to sort of show you too, which has been pretty fun, and let me pull up, that's our Twitter feed. Okay, one of our initial goals with a lot of this was to try to get the students as interconnected with the department as possible. And so some of the strategies we've used actually is to utilize Twitter as sort of our own little posting board as well to catch the students' attention. Many of us have the Twitter feeds embedded into our courses in the Moodle pages. And anytime something gets posted there through the biology department or through the biology club, bang, it shows up right there. So even if they're not Twitter users, they're going to get it. They're going to see it in there. And I'm finding that probably about half the students are Twitter users. But so then for those who aren't, they get access to it there as well.
And is that easy to do? Do you have your Twitter feed?
It is, yeah. It's all widget based. So getting the correct code, and Twitter makes that very available for you to.
But boy, I'm here and maybe not.
Okay. Well, yeah, no, there's no quick way to explain it, but it actually isn't too bad. You'll just have to trust me on that without going into the techniques. But a lot of these things, Google Calendars and things like that, the products themselves make it they have these widget makers, which allow you to just plug the code right in and it'll show up and display in there. So, yeah, no, I didn't make it sound easy, but. So anyways, we've been really happy with this and just some of the stuff that we've been doing. And I think all the things that we've been hearing on there have really come into play, and I've been learning a ton already from a lot of the things that these guys have been sharing that I'm looking forward to us trying to incorporate in there as well.